moving on a little, we've done the research. Doing research is only half of the story, of course. You have to communicate the results. So in your view, what do you think makes a good technical paper?
So this is a standard question, this good technical paper, and if you, as a PhD student, if you're interested in that, you go in the internet and you find 10, 20 PDF files with exactly the title, How to Write a Good Paper. So there is a lot of material around, and I cannot compete with this. They are thick, 20 pages on all details, but I think there are a few things which are really important. So the first thing is that the work has to have focus and substance. And the second thing is, now, where does it come from? Is it an industry paper or is it an academic paper? So in industry, usually you have focus because, well, a project is made if there is a problem which has to be resolved, but not always there is very much substance. In academia, it may be the other way around. So usually we expect from academics to deliver some substance, but it's not always so that the focus is so very well defined. This depends on the nature of the project. If it's a third-party money-funded project from industry, it will certainly be focused. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay for it. But academics have also resources for just doing project blue sky work, and there very often there is first the solution, the equation, and then you search for the problem. And so in particular, it can be very difficult. And so writing a good paper, it requires in any case that you have focus and substance. I think these things are mandatory. If you don't have one of these two things, you can't write a good paper. If you have that, this doesn't mean that your papers are good. So then the story begins essentially with writing a good paper. And so there I would say the first thing is leaning back when you write a good paper on the basis of your focused work with substance, and think about what story you want to tell. This is the first thing. I think it's like writing a short story in literature. And it's important to have only one story, not two stories. And if you are not able to come up with a story, you see that's something wrong with your work and with the progress and with the results. This is the first thing. The most important thing is to have this story. And then I feel that it's the most important thing is then to work on an outline, on a kind of a storyboard, if you want. And I think that should really be the major part of it. So you put in everything, what you have, you put it in right order, and then the most important thing for many PhD students is to find the gold nuggets in that. Very many some of the PhD students, so they write something down because it was difficult to go to the point, but that's not necessarily what the reader wants to hear. So you have to set yourself in the perspective of the reader and then see what are my gold nuggets. And I think that can then be defined in steps unless you have really a very detailed outline of the talk. And I think that's mainly, if you have that, so then it's just writing and preparing the graphics. Writing is a bit more difficult for the non-native English speakers, and making the graphics, and then you are done. And the last point which I find important is, which you see in very many papers, is that you start with the body of the text, write that, and then come to the conclusions. And the conclusions must be already part of the outline. And then you write the abstract. And it's very important not to mix the abstract with the conclusions. So an abstract is a summary, and the conclusions are not a summary. Very many people, if they have no results, they repeat the summary. And if you manage to get strong conclusions from your outline, then you are basically done. And I think that's all behind writing a good paper.
Thank you. And then, of course, it comes to the presentation.
Yeah. What should I say about presenting? So that's a skill. You either you have it or you need to work on it. But I think it's a bit given in your character, in whether you are a good presenter or not. But usually, if the paper is written in a good structure, So the presentation will be just following the same structure with almost the same arguments. And so I think that's not the real point.
So the presentation naturally follows a good paper.
I would say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Thomas Sattelmayer, thank you very much.
Thank you.